Hey y'all, welcome to day 8 of Finance Miss. We definitely missed a couple of days, but we're going to jump right back into it. Tonight we're going to talk about budgeting for big life expenses such as a wedding, a baby, and buying a condo or buying a house, which I've done all three. We're going to start with the first one, but let's jump right into it. All right, so you have to understand what you want and how much you're willing to spend. When it came to buying a condo, when it came to buying my first apartment, the first thing I did was honestly, I cleared a whole bunch of debt. I spent about 2 years just literally clearing my $41,000 worth of debt, honestly, via side hustling. I made almost my salary 1 year side hustling, so I was definitely outside. This wasn't a work from home position. I was outside making as much money as possible just to be able to afford buying a condo when I was ready. So, one of the things that I always talk about is when you buy something, you want to think about the plans you have in the future as well. You want to make sure you're not shooting yourself in the foot by doing so much in the beginning and forgetting what you've done, forgetting what you truly want to do, right? So I knew that for my first property, I didn't want it to be super expensive. I was scared. I was nervous to actually live by myself, to have to pay my own bills consistently. And I'm not sure why, because I've always held a job. Like, I've held a job since I was 14. But in my head, this would be mine. There would be no going back. So I wanted to make sure that I was able to afford it. So I was approved for about like $300,000, but honestly, that would have looked like maybe like $2,500 a month. And I was like, that's too much. That's absolutely too much. So looking on Zillow, looking in the areas that I wanted to live in, I actually found my apartment in one of the areas I wanted to live in. It was outdated. It was ugly. Based on the pictures, I think the person took it themselves, so they didn't have to hire a realtor. But when I came to see it, when I saw the building, when I saw the area, like, I immediately fell in love, and I knew it would be something that I wanted, that I could, make my own. And instead of going the $300,000 route, I literally went with half of that. So I know that's not always easy in this economy now, especially with how expensive things are. But if you can look into the idea of don't hit your max budget, like, please don't hit your max budget. Because for me, in my head, I was like, all right, I don't want this to be too expensive. One, because I'm scared and it's going to be mine. Also, two, because there were other things I wanted to do, like buy an investment property. I still wanted to be able to go out to travel. I did not want to be house poor. Like, that was my main thing, is that I do not want to be house poor. So I wanted to make sure that this was worth it. So I found it for half the price. My mortgage, I put down 20%. So everything, closing costs and all that, came out to $27,000. Where did I get that $27,000? I had saved a lot of it after I paid off a debt. So I did not immediately stop all my side hustles when I paid off debt. I kept them going because I knew I wanted to buy property. But I also knew at that time, yo, if you stop these side hustles right now, you're not gonna save. Like, you don't have it in your main income to do it. You're not about to save if you stop. So I kept going for like another almost a year. I saved a lot of money. I had pulled probably like $5,000 out of my full 3B to be able to cover the rest. But I closed, I think I might have spent like $27,000 total, which was like the 20% down and then the closing costs for everything else. But I was able to snag this apartment for $469 a month. We put about like $5,000 into it, which included like sanding the floor. Like, I had me and my nephew were in here picking up carpet. And I paid him to pick up the carpet. We sanded the floors. We had someone come sand the floors, shine the floors. We had someone change the light fixtures, and everything's not changed. Everything's not done. I've been here for 3 years, and there's still things I haven't done. And I put in my head personally that it's not going to be what you see on Instagram. I was like, although that's your style, although that's what you want, right? You got this at such a steal that you could eventually make it how you want and take your time doing it without going into debt. So that was my mindset behind the whole thing. Like, Girl, take your time. You got it at a good price. Do things slowly. So $5,000 really just covered everything I needed to fix up to be able to move in, and we were all set. But when it comes to buying a house, especially now since things have changed, you want to look at the interest rates. You want to see how much you're going to be able to afford every single month, and you want to make sure it doesn't take up all of your income. Like, I have a one bedroom, one bath apartment. Of course, I'm have a baby now, but three of us are going to be in here for the next 3 to 4 years as we save for a house. But buying it at the time that I bought it, I already have about like $60,000 in equity that I can use when we sell to put towards down payment towards our other house. But even looking now, I'm like, there's a certain budget I just know like we can't afford to go over, because I personally don't like the feeling of, oh my gosh, I like we're so tight, or I don't like that. And I had to tell that to my sister, like, girl, you showing me these places, but I don't want to be tight on money. Like, my brain cannot handle being tight on money. I don't like it. So the first thing when it comes to looking for a condo is buy what you need, not what you can afford. If you only need a one bedroom, buy a one bedroom. There's no reason to have 3 to 4, 5, 6 bedrooms that are not being used, that you won't be using for years down the line, especially if you're single, if you're not with anybody, right? Like, if you don't necessarily need all that space, don't do it. One thing I did also was that, I bought this, and then about 2 years later, 3 years later, I bought my investment property. I had still been saving. Since this mortgage was so low, I was able to still save a lot of money every single month because I wasn't using any money. I didn't like inflate my lifestyle. I didn't do anything crazy. Like, the first year I spent buying whatever I wanted. But after that, I was just like, all right, this is over. I can save all the money that I want. So I started saving. I started saving a lot of the money, and then I was like, all right, I could use this money to either do my kitchen over, because y'all know I got white appliances. I could either spend this money doing my kitchen over, I could spend this money doing my bathroom over, or I could spend this money on a down payment on an investment property. I spent the money on the down payment on an investment property in St. Louis. It was a lot cheaper there, so I bought a house for about 100 and nope, like $98,000. So I bought that. I was able to put the $23,000 down that I had saved. But again, I made sure that my first investment, my first property, did not like shoot myself in the foot for everything else that I wanted to do. So I ended up saving enough to do both of those. And honestly, the income increased over time too. So I went from being a paraprofessional to a special education teacher. Then I went to being a special education teacher with a master's degree. And that also made a difference. So really, like, increasing my salary helped without necessarily increasing my lifestyle. Still doing all the things that I wanted to do, still having all the things that I wanted to have, but like at a limit. And as you make more money, you realize your mindset starts to change. Like, you don't want the things that you used to want. At least not me. Like, I used to want the bags, I used to want the shoes, I used to want all those things. I got $1,000 bags just sitting in the closet. They're just sitting in the closet. And I'm just like, I could be using that for other things, but anyway, um, you get to the point where the material things don't do as much for you and you want more. So with the investment property, all I did was save money. It took, right, like a year and a half, 2 years. I was just saving. But in my mind, I was saving to renovate things. And then when the time presented itself, I had the money to say, okay, Selma, you can either renovate what you have now, or you can buy an investment property. And I've always wanted to go through that experience, so I decided to lean towards the investment property. So now I technically have two properties in like 5 year span, 4 year span. And the investment property, I truly don't really have to worry about too much. It pays for itself. The tenant pays, it covers. So I'm only worried about my main property. And it really has just been a blessing to save so much. And I think this is why I've become addicted to saving, because I realize when opportunities present themselves, I have the money to do it if I want to, right? And I think that has been my mindset lately. Like, girl, save, because if something comes up, you have the money to do it. And that has been a game changer. Like, I might not go on as many vacations as I used to. I might not, buy all the crazy bags and shoes and things that I used to. but I'm leveling up my family's wealth, right, by owning things, assets, and not just owning liabilities or not just owning things that don't make me any money at all. All right, so we're gonna talk about last thing, the talk about the budget for the wedding and focusing on me and my husband's wants and not listening to other people. Because if I would have listened to my mom, y'all, my mom loves the big parties. She loves like that. That is not her child. That's also not my husband. So when we were planning our wedding, it was all about making sure the people who we wanted to be there truly were there. It was about making sure we found a place that was. I think this was the biggest one because I think this is where people spend a lot of money. That the place covered both like as a venue and the food. So we decided, okay, the best thing to go with that was a restaurant. So we actually looked at multiple restaurants. I found a good one in Brooklyn that had like a nice package where I think the food the food for like 50 people and then having the space for 3 hours was $2,400 to $2,500. You're not really ever gonna find that in Brooklyn, like I'm telling you. And the food was good. It came with an appetizer and entree. Dessert was our cake, but it also came with two drinks per plate. And I thought that was literally more than enough. We did not need any more than that. And so that was the biggest thing, right? Making sure the food and the venue was secured. And then when it came to decor, I kept it really simple. Flowers, you add flowers and stuff and like all these things and these backdrops and get these designers, and it costs a lot of money. And for me and my husband, the 3 hours was not worth spending $15 to $2,000 on like making a place look extra beautiful. Just so I was on Pinterest, I was on Instagram, and I knew from experience from what I wanted that I wanted the decor to be very like candlelit. I wanted floating candle. I wanted like candles, candlelit, three different size candles. I wanted white flowers on the table, and we actually made that happen. We were able, outside of the flowers, we were able to make like the three-tiered candles all around. It looked beautiful. It went with the white tablecloths. We had printed out our menus with thank you cards on the back for that, and it was just like perfect. I did not look at other people's Instagrams and their weddings and try to emulate that. Like I was more so, I want the people to eat, to enjoy the music, and to have fun. And I don't necessarily always think that requires the decor. Like I don't think that requires like a crazy amount of decor. The tables for me were beautiful. Everyone loved it. Everyone enjoyed themselves. And it was a nice time, but understanding what our budget was, we did not want to go over $5,000 for everything. My dress came from David's Bridal, which was like $149. And then that's really my mom made me go there, and we actually found a dress that I loved that grew with me, and it was $149. Shoes, I didn't even have no shoes, y'all. My feet were so swollen that I had sandals on. I had like flip flops on, but you couldn't tell. We got my husband's suit and his shoes, Men's Warehouse, and shoes from like Aldo. The vases for the table decor came from Dollar Tree. I went to like two different Dollar Trees, picked those up. The candles came from Michael's, got those. And we like set it up, and our cake was paid for by my friend, and it had the baby's gender in it. It was just perfect. It was what we wanted. It was small, it was intimate, it wasn't 20 to 30 hours long. We were like, I think the 3 hours was perfect. The food was great and the experience was great. So for us, it was just like, let's make sure we stay within this budget. It was a concrete budget. It wasn't like we could go up and down, up and down. And I think in total, we actually only spent about maybe $4,300 max, right? So don't listen to other people. I had to tell my mother, like, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. You want that. I personally don't want all of those things. And I think she started to realize, like, all right, she really doesn't want all these things. And I'm like, no, I don't want a space. I don't want a hall. I don't want I want something small, intimate. We had about 50 people. It was perfect. We had a courthouse wedding. Like all the things that I wanted literally turned into what we wanted for less than what we budgeted for. So it was amazing. We then took the rest of that money and just added it to the savings. And then the last thing, speaking of that, when it comes to like, I don't know. I don't know if this is everybody, but obviously I have all my black friends and all my black family members. When it comes to like our baby being born and the first birthday, I know people make such a big deal out of like that first birthday. And like me and my husband are just like, mm. Like we want to keep it small and intimate, like how I experienced when I was younger, where we would have a birthday cake in the house. My mom would make my birthday cakes. My sister still makes her children's birthday cakes from like the box cake. Like I want to have that. I want to pass down that tradition of the cake coming from love, not some store-bought cake or some really big party. Like I've decided that every year we will be on a vacation. All of our birthdays are literally going to be probably in a week or two of each other. My husband is the 21st, I'm the 22nd. This baby's probably going to be at the end of January, beginning of February. And we want vacations. We want experiences. I want my child to experience that. We can always do like little birthdays here and there, but we're not about to spend a couple of $1,000s on a first birthday and a crazy cake and all those things when we could literally show our son the world, right? So making sure for your family, for your pockets, that you do the things you want to do. Make sure that you're saving wherever you can, because I'm telling you, and make sure you save in a high yield interest savings account. I have Ally. Make sure you're constantly saving money, like for something to come up. I've been saving for baby K before he was even conceived. Whether it was $20, $50, whatever it was, every time I got paid, I knew eventually I wanted to have a child, right? I knew eventually that would happen. So I just started saving money with no end date in mind, with no anything in mind, right? I literally just started putting money aside when I started to make more money. But it literally starts with like the little dollars. It doesn't start with the big amounts. It doesn't start with like anything crazy, but being consistent, putting the little bit of money aside. Baby K used to have $20 deposits, $10 deposits, $100 deposits, whatever it was. He always had a deposit going into his account. I had an emergency fund. Money was always flowing into that account, right? It all starts to add up when you decide to take it serious, when you decide to be consistent. Because I'm telling you, if I did not save money after paying off debt, I would have missed the opportunity to buy this condo. If I did not save money while living here, I would have missed the opportunity to buy an investment property. If I wasn't saving money while living here with an investment property, right, I wouldn't have had no money for baby K, and he's coming in like a couple of months, right? And if we weren't focused on those things and saving for those things, my husband and I wouldn't have had enough to cover our wedding that we had. So they're all stacked, but the main idea is that we were consistent with saving. I was consistent with saving, and I was more happy with my savings account growing, and not me allowing that to take away by doing and buying all the things. So for me, saving has been my saving grace. Um it has been so good to me that I just do it now. Like when I first get paid, I just save money. I have money going to my investment accounts, and then I automatically save money because I know that I never want to miss an opportunity. Um, and for me, that's important. So we covered the condo, we covered the wedding, we covered baby K, but now we're going to talk about what we're doing for to buy our dream home. We're saving, right? We're trying to really cut costs and live off of one salary while we save the other salary, but we're literally just saving whatever we can, whenever we can. So maybe not eating out as consistently, not buying all the things, even though we really rarely shop, but eating out has been my thing. Cutting back on that just so that we save the money to buy the dream home that we want for ourselves and for our son. So we have about 3 years to do that. The goal is to do $50,000 in 3 years. And all it requires is that once the paycheck hits, you save some money. Once the paycheck hits, you save some money. When you have extra money, you save half of that money, right? Whenever the money comes in, the first thing I'm always thinking about is how much I can save. And I think that will be the biggest lesson I want to leave with you all here. When you first get money, save it. Save it into a high yield savings account. Don't try to save it into a savings account attached to your checking account. You know, you have, like I said, high yield interest savings accounts like Ally, Capital One, Discover, Markets by Goldman Sachs. All of those places will, give you more money on the money that you're saving. But when you first get paid, you definitely want to make sure you save it, because I'm a prime example of what saving money and what living below your means can do for you. So, my question is, how much can you consistently save per month? And are you actually saving that money every single month? If not, automate it. Bye.